Good morning, guys. This is Mrs. Stevenson, and it is Friday, so it's story time with Mrs. Stevenson. But before we start, I'm looking out my window. It is almost the middle of May, and it's snowing. I'm from Georgia. I'm from the South. It doesn't do this in May in the South. This is crazy. There's snow in May. Okay, so on to story time. I've decided, excuse me, that we should do a chapter book. So we are going to be reading some of Wayside School. Now this is the second book in the series by Louis Sachar, and I love Wayside School. It is amazing. An amazing series to read. Once second grade is probably an appropriate time where they would be able to start reading it. So Wayside School, instead of building the school straight across horizontally, they built the school straight up, one classroom per level. So it's 30 stories tall. Okay, so let's start. We'll start with one chapter and see how far we get. Maybe we'll have time for 2 chapters a day. All right. Wayside School gets a little stranger. Some strange stuff going on. Where is there Pickle? It's Pickle. All right, let's find out what's going on. Anytime there's an illustration, I will show it to you. But usually chapter books, there's not a lot of illustrations. All right. So, the title page, Wayside School Gets a Little Stranger. I'm going to be trying to read the chapters with some fluency and some inflection, which means I'm reading it and I'm expressing feelings and making facial expressions and all that stuff. All right. So this is the content page. It shows us our chapters. This is the table of contents. What pages the chapters start on. What? Yeah. You'll find this also in a nonfiction that tells you what the chapters are about. Like if you're learning about frogs, it'll show you, it'll say frogs. And then it'll show the chapters tree frog, poison dart frog, that kind of stuff. Explanation. So chapter 1 is explanation. Here we have a picture. All right. For 243 days, a lonely sign hung on the front of the old school building. Wayside School closed for repairs, and they made that upside down. On some days, a child would come, look at the sign, and then sadly walk away. Or else a child would come, look at the sign, stand on her head, and then sadly walk away. Louis, he took care of the playgrounds. He's kind of like our Mr. Cliff at Landmark. Mr. Louis watched them come and go, but he never said hi to them. He hid when they came. It was his job to repair the school. Louis used to be the yard teacher at Wayside School. He passed out the balls and played with the kids at recess and lunch. When the school closed, the children were sent to other schools. Horrible schools. No 2 kids were sent to the same school. Louis was afraid he'd cry if he talked to them. Isn't that interesting? Wayside School is closed, and our schools are closed right now, so we have a connection there. But Louis worked hard. For 242 days, he pushed and pulled and shoveled and mopped. He never left the building. At night, he slept on the couch in the teacher's lounge on the 12th floor. Some days, it seemed hopeless. The worst part was the smell. He often had to run and stick his head out a window to get a breath of fresh air. But whenever he felt like quitting, he thought about those poor kids stuck in those horrible schools, and he just worked harder. And at last, 243 days later, the school was ready to open. Oh my goodness, I hope our schools aren't closed for 243 days. That would be sad. Well, almost ready. There was one little problem. Suddenly, from somewhere inside the building, or maybe just inside his head, Louis heard, "Meow." He put his hands over his ears and said, "I don't hear it, I don't hear it, I don't hear it," until the mooing stopped. He had scrubbed and polished every inch of Wayside School. There were no cows anywhere. He was sure of it. Still, every once in a while, he heard something go, meow. Or at least he thought he did. He took the sign off the door. But before you enter, you should know something about Wayside School. Wayside School is a 30-story building with one room on each floor. Mrs. Jules teaches the class on the 30th story. Miss Zarves teaches the class on the 19th story. There is no Miss Zarves. Understand? Good. Explain it to me. Louis! Someone shouted. He turned to see a red and blue overcoat running towards him. Hi, Sherry, he said. He couldn't see her face, but he knew she had to be somewhere inside the coat. All right, now the reason there were cows inside the building is because they got in the building at the end of the last book. You should read it. It's really funny. Sherry jumped into Louis's arms. I bet you're glad to be back, said Louis. You bet, said Sherry. Now I can finally get some sleep. All around the playground, old friends were getting back together. Hey, old pal, said John. Hey, good buddy, said Joe. BB, yelled Calvin from one side of the playground. Calvin! BB shouted from the other. They ran and smashed into each other. Hi, Eric, good to see you, said Eric. Hey, good to see you too, said Eric. Oh, look, there's Eric. Hi, Eric. Hi, Eric. Hi, Eric. Hi, Eric. Even Kathy said hello to everyone. Hey, big ears, she said to Myron as she slapped him on the back. What's happening, Snelly? She said to Damien. You didn't take a bath for 243 days, did you? Hi, Allison. Did you get uglier while you were away, or were you always this ugly and I just forgot? That's a nice sweater, Kathy, said Allison, who always tried to say something nice. Kathy moved on to Terrence. I'm sure glad to see you, Terrence, she said. You are? Asked Terrence. Yes, said Kathy. I thought you'd be in jail by now. Ooh, Kathy doesn't sound like a nice person. Todd came running across the playground. Hi, Todd, shouted Sherry right in Louis's arms. Todd kept running. Hey, Todd, called Jason. Good to see ya. Hi, Todd, called Myron and DJ, but Todd didn't answer. He just kept running until he reached the school building. Then, he kissed Wayside School. Out of all the schools, Todd had been sent to the very worst one. It was awful. The first thing he had to do every morning was, oh, wait a second. I don't have to tell you. You already know. Todd was sent to your school. All right, and that's going to be it for today. So I'm going to put my bookmark because we should never fold the edges of our pages. I just use a sticky note. And we're going to mark our spot for tomorrow. So what do you guys think of Wayside School? Is it a school you think you'd like to go to? Well, it's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to read the next chapter with you next week. All right, I hope you guys have a super terrific day. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the snow. And I will talk to you guys on Monday. Bye.